Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
Hard to master,
such as
The Wolves, produced by Pandasaurus Games.
The Wolves is a game in which you are going to be trying to move your pack of wolves throughout the board here, trying to convert lone wolves to become your wolves of your tribe, of your pack. And you do have a player board here. It has a lot of pieces on it. I'm going to try to carefully maneuver it out here on frame so that you can see it. You got lots of little wolf meeples and your dens and your lairs. And you're going to be hunting prey in this game. You're going to be doing all sorts of things. You're going to be doing action selection as one of the main mechanics in this game, but it is mostly area control that you will be getting majority of your points through. But you also have some tableau building, unlocking things on your board that will also give you a lot of in-game points at the end of the game with this particular game. So let's go over how a turn works, and then we'll share our thoughts on this one. So basically, on your turn, you are going to get 2 actions, and after you've done your 2 actions, then you're going to look at this moonlight board here, which has 2 sides to it. You'll flip it over depending on what player count you're playing with. And you are going to be filling up this moonlight calendar looking board here with tokens with your different actions, tokens from the board here, such as if you convert a lone wolf to become one of your wolves, you'll be filling up a spot on the calendar here. And anytime you fill it all the way up till you get to one of these scoring markers, then you'll check the board to see who has majority in those regions that are going to score points, and you'll do a scoring phase at that particular point in the game.
Because these tokens would be on the board.
Right, yeah. You'll use these tokens to remind you
on the little water spaces.
Remind you which regions are going to score when they come up on this particular board, taking a look at the different types of moons that are out here. And so that's basically the gist of the game. Once you've taken your 2 actions, if you don't have a scoring phase to do for that particular turn, then it will go to the next player clockwise. And you'll just continue to go around the board till you get to the full moon marker for whatever side of the board you're playing on. And then you'll proceed to end-game scoring. So what are some of the actions that you can do? Well, it's pretty simple. You will be taking these actions by using these tiles right here, and so we're going to move these on frame. Oh, you can see them, yeah, good. All right, good deal. So yeah, they're down here in the bottom right of your screen, and you can see here that you have these different tiles that have the same coloring artwork as what matches some of these hexes out here on the board. And so in order to take an action, you have to have tiles up here that matches where you're taking the action out here on the board. So for instance, if I'm wanting to move to one of these Arctic tiles here, say I have a wolf over here and I'm wanting to move that wolf to one of these Arctic tiles, I have to flip over Arctic tiles that I have above my player board. And some of them will be the same color on the opposite side because the blue player here, they have a tile that is blue on both sides, or white, bluish white, and you'll have to flip over the other one, and as you can see, there's a different color on the back of that tile, and up in the corner it tells you what color is on the other side, and that allows you to take that action because you're going to that region that matches the same coloring of the tiles you flipped over. Hopefully that makes sense, and that's how you're going to manipulate these action selection tiles to do all of your actions throughout the course of the game. So that's the move action. That's one of the types of actions you can do. Another one is to unlock these things that are on your board here, and we're going to bring up the board back again, and you can increase your pack spread, your wolf speed, your howl range, and build layers. And now each of these are going to mean different things. I'll cover them real briefly here, but your pack spread, that's going to allow you to move more wolves when you take the wolf move action. Because at the beginning of the game, you can only ever move 2 wolves when you take the wolf move action, but you can unlock more here and increase the number of wolves that you can move, and ultimately you are going to get victory points at the end of the game for unlocking so many things.
And bonus tokens.
And bonus tokens. Let's cover those bonus tokens real quick, Jeremy. You remember what let's see, let's cover this one real quick. So this is
an extra
that's going to let you do a bonus action on your turn. You spend one of these, you get to take a second action, flipping over the tiles at the top of your board. The other one there
creates any tile as a wild, basically.
Yep, basically, yeah.
The wild region.
And then,
territory.
again, anything in a star here is going to be victory points at the end of the game. So that's the pack spread. The wolf speed over here is how many spaces you get to move when you take the move action, because normally you can only move 3 spaces, but you can unlock things and increase how fast your wolves go. The howl range is going to be important because when you take a howl action, that's going to be what causes these lone wolves out here, because there are these lone wolves scattered throughout the course of the board. If you howl at them, you are able to convert them into a wolf of your pack, unlocking one of these little wolves here at the bottom right of your board, and that means you've got more presence out on the board, more wolves to work with.
Lance, how do you do that?
Howl!
Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
so
no, you have to do that.
No, so interjection. Well, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it in a minute,
but yeah.
I do want to point
New
out
rules.
You do have 2 different types of wolves down here on the bottom of your board. You've got your
Alpha wolves.
your follower wolves, your little wolves, and then you've got your alpha wolves. They are going to be more powerful and let you take more actions with them. They also cannot be converted to another player's pack, whereas your little wolves can, because if another player howls at one of your little wolves when they're all by themselves, they're going to get scared and they're going to join that other player's pack. And you will lose your wolf. It will actually come over here to the moonlight board, filling up another spot. And that speeds up the end of the game. Exactly. So you do have to keep in mind where your wolves are at on the board. You want to try to protect them. You don't want
dens.
Yes, and your dens. Because your dens out here, you actually get to put them out on a board whenever you do the den action. And this is going to give you presence in that region for the scoring phase. Whenever you're looking at who has area majority, these are going to give you points towards that. But if you don't protect them, players can howl at them and you will lose these. So you do have to protect your dens as well. So that's the howl range. The layers, you are going to upgrade your dens to layers, and layers cannot be converted to other players. They are much more powerful. They do give you more presence. They're harder to unlock, though, and so you do have to keep that in mind. They need to be adjacent to a water source to be able to do that.
You have to plan.
You do have to plan. You do have to plan. And they give you lots of victory points at the end of the game, increasing number of victory points, as well as giving you bonus tokens. So that's the majority of the actions for what you're going to be doing on your turn, and each action has its own cost of number of tiles you have to flip over in order to take that. The move action is only going to ever cost you 1 tile to flip over, but the howl, the den, and the lair action, that is going to require 2 to flip over. And the dominate action, that is where you're converting somebody else's wolf, that's going to cost you 3. So that's going to be a lot of manipulating these tiles. You are going to want to try to get some of those wild tokens to be able to help you to do that. There is one last action to cover real quick, and that is the prey action. So this little section down here at the bottom of your board.
But you don't, it's an action. It's just a...
Yeah, right. I misspoke. It's not an action. It's something you do if the circumstances
basically
are right for you. So you need to try to surround prey with 3 separate wolves on 3 different hexes around a prey, and then you're able to collect that prey, putting it on your board. And not only will that increase a set collection point for the end of the game, but you will get a bonus token to let you take a bonus action on that turn. You do have to get different types of prey. You can't get the same type of prey because there's going to be multiples on the board, and you want to try to get 5 different types of prey to increase the number of points you'll get. And that's the gist of the game. Majority of the game boils down to unlocking things on your board, but doing that through manipulation of the tiles over here, selecting the actions that you want to do throughout the course of the game. So let's talk about what we think about this particular game. Jeremy, I'm going to let you go first. You tend to gravitate towards these area majority kind of games. What did you think of this one?
I tend to win it too. But I didn't win it based off area control. So I actually really enjoyed this. I was like, okay, first off, I had a hard time figuring out this is a wolf's eye. I kept seeing a bird. And I was like, why is it the wolves? I couldn't see the wolves in it. I just thought it was the bird. But I wasn't sure on it, but Pandasaurus makes a lot of good games that I enjoy. So I was ready to try it out. Tried it out. Really enjoyed it. The games we played of it. I feel like I said, area control, I let everybody else battle it out. I was all about engine building on the board, getting all that unlocked, and upgrading that board. And I had 3 layers on the board. I mean, I had all the wolves out. I mean, that's adding up, and I won by like 15 points or something. It was crazy, but it was. I spent a lot of points. I spent all my points. Everybody else was getting all these. I had gotten, I think, 6 points. I think from the area 6 points of area majority. Everything else was off the board because I had so much stuff unlocked. Because I wouldn't focus on that. I would focus on upgrading layers and getting to these water spots and trying to get those upgrades. Yeah. I will say, like, the board artwork drives Lance nuts. I do not mind the board artwork at all. I think it looks cool the way it is. The one thing I had an issue with, and I ran into this in our game, was the buck and the moose look identical.
A lot alike.
Yeah. From a distance, they look the same. And when I'm trying to pick up these hunting tokens, I'm going for it, and I realize that I've surrounded one I already have, and it wasted my time. Right, yeah. That was a bummer. Yeah. I felt like every other one looks fair. I mean, these even look close. Yeah. I mean, the pig and the sloth. I would have preferred
different colors for each one rather than different silhouettes.
And these have a different color.
They're slight variations.
But the color difference right here is just because they look alike. But these two look so much alike, and the color is like identical.
I mean, do you know the difference between an elk and a buck? Maybe you don't.
I mean, one's facing forward, the other's looking back, but they both have horns. And from a table distance, looking down, that was difficult to see. But as far as I like the puzzle of flipping the tiles. Yes. I mean, I was able to do and manage that pretty well, and feel like I didn't really have trouble. The hardest thing I thought for me was not only seeing those two. A couple tokens, the differentiation, but the howl range and knowing, because people kept attacking me and taking my stuff off the board. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not winning that one. So I was all about moving and finding a way to get more on the board because people kept taking me off the board. Yeah. Which in a 5-player game was fine. It's gonna happen.
There's a lot of conflict in this game.
But you just gotta try to replace someone else. Yeah. And understanding the howl range, I think at the beginning is difficult, and as you get halfway through the game, it starts to make more sense. Yeah. And there was even confusion in our first game where people thought that you had to move your wolves together. It just says number of wolves you can move. Yeah. It doesn't say have to be together, and I had to clarify. There's nowhere in there does it say these people on this tile have to move. So, but the howl range is the most difficult because you're looking at the board and trying to figure out how far you can howl to convert something, basically.
I think for me, the mechanics here are solid. This is a totally unique game, one that I can't really put in comparison to any other game out there with the way the mechanics work with this. Trying to figure out this puzzle, like Jeremy said, with the tiles is a fun challenge. It is challenging 100% because you are going to be struggling trying to figure out, okay, if I take this action, that'll set me up for this action next, which will set me up for that action next. It's hard to try to keep straight.
Well, I think that's what hurt y'all in the long run was everybody kept using the dominate action and spending their wilds and do that, where I was able to continue to upgrade by doing layers and dens, and those cost less action points.
Another thing I really, really enjoy about this game is, I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of conflict in it, and that is because you're going to have big packs out on the board. You don't just have 1 or 2 dudes on a map. You've got a pack of wolves, and each wolf has its own area that it can kind of influence on the board, especially the alpha wolves. They can really do a lot of damage if you don't keep an eye on them, and you want to try to keep your pack together, but also you want to spread out because this is an area majority game. But you can't be too spread out because then you will get picked off left and right. And so that's a fun little tense aspect of this game that you're constantly keeping in track, because you'll have a plan of what you want to do, but then somebody's going to be, nipping into your area, your den, your lair, and you don't like that. You don't want them coming to take away your majority. So that's a fun aspect with this game. The only con that I have, Jeremy mentioned it a little bit ago, is the way the board looks. It's a little too busy for me. Cool. The way the colors clash, and I mean, I understand they match these tokens, and that's that's a necessity to have. I just don't like the way it looks. I don't know what it is. It gives me a little bit of a headache.
I think it looks cool. I think it looks cool. My issue with the board is just the couple of different animals that look the same.
Yeah.
But I don't think that looks bad at all.
But everything else about the game, I really enjoy. The other aspects of the artwork, the way these little sideboards are, with the way the wolves look, and the player boards are really nice. I mean, and the wooden components, the wooden bits and tokens, everything else is really, really nice with this game. I don't care too much for these big hex boards and the way they look. So, and I do agree with you that the prey tokens could have been better. So, well, let's get to our scores for this particular game. I think we've shared some good thoughts on it so far. I'll go first. You guys know me if you've watched our video on mechanics and games that we like. Area majority is not one that ranks very high for me.
We just saw your top 25. And
I know.
I think one was area control.
There's
it was
two.
Godfather.
Yeah.
it was mainly worker placement.
Right. And this one, I'll say, albeit that I would say it's 60% area majority, 40% these tokens, action selection to unlock stuff on your board is kind of how I see it. I love the whole game as a whole. I think it's a great blend of the mechanics, even if this isn't something that I generally care for. I wish it looked different as far as the board goes, but overall, I'm going to give this game a 7.9. I really did enjoy it. It's something, it's a very solid game. It would be one that I would be glad to play anytime somebody wants to sit down and play it, which is quite unusual for me to say about a game that is mostly area majority, area control. So
you must be coming to your senses.
Oh, no. This is still an anomaly for me. I don't care for this type of game, but I do enjoy this game in particular. So where do you come out on this one?
Well, that's the difference. I actually don't think it's 60% area control. Okay. I mean, but the games I've won were not. It was based on tableau.
It is tableau. A lot of tableau
upgrading and manipulation of these tiles to do the action selection. I also like how the timer is not only these HAL tokens, but when you remove somebody else, that speeds the game up.
You do have to keep track of this.
I think that's a really interesting thing.
Adds a lot of tenseness to the game.
But I honestly think it's more. I mean, you're utilizing the map, and there is area control for the people that just go heavy into that, but you can still get a lot of points by just focusing on upgrade. Now, you can't get wiped off the board completely. If you just get annihilated, then yes. But I feel like it's 50-50, 45-55 on the tableau side, but that's how I won the game. The games I played. So it wasn't necessarily I'm just trying to control and get all these tokens, because you can get quite a bit of points on your board, and a lot of people focus on these points and they neglect a big chunk of points, finding the right spot to put those dens and upgrading them to layers. Getting all them wolves out is big.
Yes.
If you can go and get these tokens and spend your focus on getting these howling at these lone wolves and turning them into your wolves and getting the dens in the right spot and focusing on managing where you're placing things, I think it's a much better strategy than actually going and just fully focused on the area
different
control,
regions,
area majority. So for me, I really enjoyed it, but I'm a little bit lower than you, surprisingly.
Really?
I'm at about 7.75. I really like what it does. and I don't mind the artwork. I think my biggest thing are like those little mistakes, and then it's a fun game, but I feel like over time I'm gonna get bored with it.
Okay.
Just because I just feel like once you get the strategy in this one, you have a really good I've done the same thing. I can keep doing the same thing and working on this board. And unless somebody really just goes one-on-one at you, you're going to be able to do it. So I feel like you can gain a pretty good strategy, especially once you get used to flipping these tiles and taking your actions. So I just wonder how much variability is going to be in gameplay over time. So
That's fair.
And I mean, they put out expansions all the time. So there could be an expansion that adds more replayability and makes you switch up your strategy, and I welcome that, and it would probably make my score go up a hair depending on how that came into fruition. But I just feel like over time, I love area control. I have a bunch of area control games, and I feel like there's ones that have more change in strategy and can adjust to play based on how people play. I feel like this one, you get to a point where it's going to be very similar in the strategies you figure out.
Fair enough. There you go. It's a solid game all around with it. So definitely one worth checking out. Let's get the box back out here. That is The Wolves. It is from Pandasaurus Games. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this particular game. And if you like this video, please, please, please hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
hard to master.
We'll catch you next time.
We'll see ya.